Have you ever looked really close up at something and found that it looked completely different than before? Our next art project, you're going to do just that. This project is called Close-Up Flowers because we are going to choose a flower and we're going to zoom in so close that you will be able to see every detail, every little bit of texture, every shape and line on the inside of that flower. You can choose any flower that you think is interesting or that is your favorite. And we're only going to be drawing the very center of that flower. The petals and the other parts of the flowers are going to be so big that they're going to go off the page. So we'll be using all the space on your paper. Why are we choosing flowers? Well, flowers have inspired artists for hundreds of years to make amazing artwork, including a famous artist named Georgia O'Keeffe. She painted flowers so realistically, so close up, that they almost look abstract. So even though this art project, we want to make it look real, we're going to zoom in to the point where your flower may even look nothing like you've ever seen it before. So, are you ready to get started on your close-up flower? Okay, so I have found my flower. This is an artificial flower. It's made out of plastic, but it looks very, very real. And I can zoom in very close up on it. I also have my paper. And remember, we want to use the whole space on your paper to draw your flower. Now, I can tell just by looking at the flower that the inside shape is a circle. So I know I'm going to be drawing a circle, but does it have to be in the middle? No, you could have your circle coming off the side to make it look even more interesting. So your circle can go anywhere on your paper, but most of the flowers that you're going to choose usually start with a circle. So I'm going to draw my circle very big. It's going to be so big that it goes off the page. Then I'm going to start drawing the first element of art, which is line. I'm going to draw some short lines. It almost looks like a sun. And those short lines are going to be the first layer of petals, the smaller ones that go right around the flower. Now I'm going to draw some longer lines in between. And like I said, it's almost like drawing the sun that go all the way to the edges of the page. Once I've done that, then I'm ready to start adding details. So one of the first details I'm going to add are the shape of the petals. These petals get kind of wide in the middle and skinny at the very tip. And the petals overlap each other. That means some of them are going to be behind other petals. So they're going to overlap and they are going to go off the page. Now the next petals are going to be so big, much bigger than the first ones, and they are also going to go off the page. So I'm going to have lots of layers of petals and they're going to go all the way around the page and they're going to be huge. Now the next part, the next element of art, so we've used shape, we've used lines, and that's my son Rudy. We are going to use texture. Texture is how something feels. And the middle of this flower almost looks like it feels fuzzy, like fur. So you're going to draw the texture just by using different kinds of lines. And lines can show texture. So I'm drawing the lines kind of like short little zigzag lines just to give an idea of what that texture feels like. Now, once I've drawn the texture and I've drawn all of my petals, the next step is to start adding the color. For this project, we're going to be using oil pastels. Oil pastels are kind of like crayons, but even better. Because they're made out of oil, you can actually use the oil in your fingers to blend them together. You can also use baby oil if you want to blend them together.
Now the colors we use, we want them to look real. So if you have a color like yellow, you need to blend it with a color that's next to it on the color wheel. So orange is next to yellow, that would go perfectly. So right now, this flower could be a sunflower, and I can color the middle brown and black. and the petals yellow and orange. But this flower, like I said, I don't know, I think it's some type of daisy, is actually pink and red, and then yellow and orange in the center.
So I'm going to start with the center and I'm going to work my way out, because as you color in your flower, your hand is going to rub on the oil pastels and you don't want to smear the colors. So I'm going to start with the darker color first, and what I'm going to do is when I'm coloring it in, I want those lines to show texture.
So I'm doing short little zigzag lines with the oil pastels all the way around the outside of the center. Now I'm going to do rows of orange to kind of make a pattern, but I want to keep looking back at my flower and make sure that it does actually look like the real thing, because we want it to be real, but so real it's abstract. Now I've used the orange, I'm going to pick the color that's next to it on the color wheel, which is yellow. So once I have my yellow oil pastel, I'm going to start doing the same thing, but if you look, the yellow and orange, I'm pressing really hard. They are blending together, and I'm filling in all the white space. I could even add a little bit of red next to the orange, because red is also next to orange, and those colors go great together. So I'm going to finish filling in the yellow. Oh, I was coloring so hard I broke my yellow, but that's okay because you can actually use the side of your oil pastels. Oil pastels look best when you blend layers. So you build up the layers. Now I'm adding some more yellow on top of the orange, and I'm mixing it all together. And it almost looks like fire. It looks really interesting. Now, like I said, I'm going to add a little bit of red, but red is the darkest color, so I'm only going to put it around the edges. And remember, my lines are showing texture, so I'm really shading them in like that. All right, now
I'm ready for the petals. Now the petals are clearly pink. So I know that red and white make pink, but I also have, besides a red, I also have a pink oil pastel. It's kind of hard to see because these oil pastels have kind of rubbed together. So you can always rub off the oil pastel with a paper towel. That helps. But I'm going to start with the darker color again, and I'm going to outline each petal with red.
And when you mix colors like red and white and pink, you're actually creating something called value. And value can make your flowers look more realistic. So once I've outlined the petals with a darker color, now I'm going to use pink. And I want to make sure when I color it in, all the lines go in the same direction. So they're going to start in that line in the center, and they're going to go out towards the edge. So they're going to start in the center, go out towards the edge. Now I'm going to go in with the white. White is the lightest color. And I'm going to add some white on top of the pink and blend it all together. Once the colors are blended together, I can outline it again with red if I want to make like a nice shadow, and outline that line again, and even add details. Now that I have at least 2 or 3 layers of color, I can actually blend the oil pastels together and make it look even more interesting. So I'm going to do that with each petal. I'm going to start with pink, or I'm going to take pink next, and I'm going to keep shading in and building up layer upon layer of these oil pastels to make it look very interesting and realistic. So as I work my way outwards, if there are any spaces that don't have color, like right here, in between these petals, there's a little bit of negative space. That means that I could paint that space green or blue, or use a color that you might find in the background. Now when you're finished shading everything in very neatly, using texture, then you can go back and outline it all with a black oil pastel. Or if you want to add some really interesting creative designs, you could add a little bee sitting on top of your flower.
Or you could add some raindrops on your flower. It's up to you. I want you to get creative. Think like an artist. Observe your flower close up and make it so realistic that it looks abstract. So I can't wait to see your flowers, and what a great job you're going to do. Good luck, and get started with your close-up flower.